Hey card making friends, Sandy here, and I just received my November 22nd card kit full of thanks from Simon Says Stamps. I thought I'd open it and create a card with you. Let's jump in, get that lovely little sucker. There is a slimline envelope and a white A2 envelope with a peel and stick and some adhesive transfers. These are called Grateful Fall Leaves. There is a set of deco foil 6x6 in autumn mix foil sheets, all kinds of pretty colors. I'll play with that in another video. And we have the 3 layered stencils that go with this month's Full of Thanks stamp set, which is absolutely fabulous. Ooh, check out the new scissors. I love these. I've been playing with those for a while. And some bright cardstock, all from Simon Says Stamps. In today's video, I'm also going to be using the sticky mat in a few different ways. This is the Misti sticky mats. You get 3 in a package, and you peel off the protective cover and pop them into your Misti. It holds your cardstock in place. There's also a grid, so you can line it up so that your stamping is perfectly straight, which is what I just did there. And I'm adding intense black ink to my stamp so that I can stamp my image. And I'm going to do this a couple of times. And then we're going to be doing some stenciling. So I'm just finishing this, and then I'm going to show you. I'm removing the magnets, but I am not going to remove my paper from my sticky mat. I'm going to pick the whole thing up and move it over to my glass mat so that I can do my stenciling. And don't remove your stamp from the Misti. Just put a piece of paper in there to protect your work surface and set it aside for a sec. We're going to play with the layered stencils now. These are the Full of Thanks stencils that come in the kit, and they coordinate with the Full of Thanks stamp set. There are 3 stencils that cover the 3 main images in the stamp set. We're going to be using the one at the bottom, and you will see when you look at it that there's 4 different positions on there to fill in the colors for your stencil. So I am lining up the pumpkin to start with, and getting it in place just to make sure that everything's lined up. And then you'll see that I'm rubbing it. The sticky mat holds your stencils in place, so no more need for Post-it note tape or anything like that to hold it in place for you. This works perfectly. Now I'm showing you all my different types of mini blending brushes and stencil brushes. I like to use these when I'm playing with these small stencils. They work perfectly, and I'm also using a collection of Simon ink today, and I have those linked on my blog for you for all the specific colors. We're going to start with the blues. And for this one, I have Seafoam and Surf, so a light and a dark, because I'm going to do a little bit of blending and also shadowing with the colors. So I'm going to use a couple of different brushes just to kind of keep my colors separated while I'm working on this. I'm using the Waffle Flower white one right now, and I'm just loading the lighter color into the top right-hand corner. I've decided that my shadows are going to be on the left-hand side, and now I'm using one of the small Simon Says Stamps blending brushes, the detail brush, and going back and forth between the two to blend that color into the left side of the pumpkin. And I like blue pumpkins. I think that this color combination is kind of fun. I like it. I'm not super fond of orange and yellow, so this is kind of my takeaway for fall leaves. Okay, so I've got the first part done. Now I'm going to come in with the browns, and the 2 browns that I'm using are Cappuccino and Mocha, and I think Mocha's the lighter one. And I am just blending in the center of the sunflower and then the bottom stem of the sunflower over on the right-hand side. So you can easily, when you have good fingernails, which I don't, pick up your stencil and move it around for the next placement. The sticky mat is keeping my art piece in place as well as holding my stencil for me, which is super awesome. And I'm going to start adding more of the light brown, and I'm using a flicking technique because I'm going to come back and add a little bit of shadow near the center with the darker brown. So the flicking technique works well because the deepest part of your color is going to be down at the bottom of the leaf where you actually want it, and then it's going to blend out lighter as you move your brush away from the center of the leaves. Okay, so I've got those done. I'm just popping in my darker color. Oh, I'm going to do a little bit of cherry red. And I have a special small blending brush just for reds, so I'm adding that to the little apple, and I'm going to be doing one of the leaves as well. So adding a couple of layers of that, and I'm leaving a light spot in the top right hand corner. I'm going to be adding some yellow to that once I get there. So that's why you'll see that I leave kind of white spots in a few places. And going back in and adding some red to some of the berries. Moving my stencil for a third time into the third position, and this is for the sunflowers and all things yellow. And I am using Sunbeam for this one, and my yellow detailed blending brush from Simon Says Stamps. So the corn's getting yellow, the sunflowers are getting yellow. Again, I'm using the flicking technique, so that allows the deeper of the yellow to be close to the center of the sunflower and then blending out lighter. And I'm going to do the same thing to the other sunflower. Love this flicking technique. It gives you some nice shadowing without having to do a whole bunch of work. So you'll see that on the very right-hand side, there's berries. So I'm going back in with my red because I don't want those berries yellow. Okay, and I'm coming back and I'm putting the leaf one on again because I want to put yellow on top of that little apple. Okay, and now I'm going to go back in with the final one, and this adds the green leaves around the corn, and I decided on one green leaf underneath the sunflower on the left-hand side. And again, you see me pushing down my stencil so that my sticky mat holds it in place for me. This is just a really, really great tool. They designed it especially for the tool, or to hold your paper inside the Misti to hold it straight. But I have been using it for all kinds of things. I'm using it now when I'm playing with powders and watercoloring. It holds my paper down flat for me. I've actually purchased 3 packages of these, and I have them in different stations in my studio, using them for all kinds of things. They're really handy, and they're also inexpensive. So adding my green, I'm starting with the light. I have 2 greens here. I have Limelicious and Perfection. So I'm going in with the light one to begin with, and basically flooding the entire area of the 5 places that I want the green. And now I've dipped into the darker green, and I'm using the flicking starting at the bottom, bringing in my shadow and adding some darker detail to my leaves. And the flicking is really easy. There's no skill involved in making really, really, really pretty art pieces for your cards. Coming back in with Cappuccino, and I'm blotting it off a whole bunch because I'm going to add just a little bit of brown in a couple of areas for my deeper shadows at the base of pretty much everything. And I decided those needed to have some brown. Going back to my pumpkin and stenciling it off so that I just add a little bit of brown in that bottom left-hand corner. And there we go. Pick it up and show it to you. Isn't it pretty? Okay, we're bringing the Misti back in, and we're going to remove that little piece that we had in there. We're going to place the sticky mat back in, and I line everything up in the bottom left-hand corner. Hold my magnets in there to keep everything in place, and I am going to re-ink my art piece because I got ink all over top of the black, and this really makes it pop by taking this one extra step. And by not removing your art piece from the sticky mat, you're going to get a dead-on, super detailed stamped image. Okay, now I'm going to take these fancy little scissors that I just got from Simon Says Stamps. They're nice and sharp, and they work awesome for doing the fussy cutting. There are dies available for this set, but they do not come with the kit. Okay, so now I'm auditioning some pieces, deciding what I want to do with the cards. I've decided that I'm going to use this new floral festoon embossing floater. This came with the Cozy Hugs release from Simon Says Stamps. That's going to be my background. But to start with, I am going to show you another trick with a sticky mat. So I have placed my card base into the top left-hand corner of my Misti, and it is stuck to my sticky mat, so it's holding it on for me. And I'm using the ridges in the corner to add that top piece of blue to the front of my card. This works perfectly every time, and I love that the sticky mat holds my card base in place for me while I am doing this. Okay, so now I'm using some tear tape because I have embossed my card front, and I don't want to squish it by adding a tape roller to it. So this stuff is super easy to use. You just place it down and then burnish the ends so that you can pick off the protective cover. And it's really, really strong. It's almost as strong as red tape. So I'm adding this to the center of my card front. Voila. And then I'm going to take some of the Simon Says Stamps adhesive squares, add them to the back of my art piece so that I can mount it in the bottom left-hand corner of my card front. So again, just removing those protective covers, and we're going to pop this down. Lots of protective covers. And my little swirly girl there needs a little piece, so I'm going to put that there. And then you might notice I actually tear it off. Always happens when you're on video, right? So lay it down and then add this little piece back in. Okay, so now we're going to do a sentiment. I have a separate piece of blue, and I'm trying to figure out which sentiment I'm going to use. Because this is a clear stamp set, you can actually pick up your card and audition which one would fit in that top right-hand corner, which is what I'm now doing. And I decide on Happy Thanksgiving, because of course American Thanksgiving is coming up. And I have lots of friends to send cards to. So just popping that in there, and I am going to use some more intense black ink. Just stamp it a couple of times to get a nice dark image. And then I'm going to use my small cutting tool and just cut this down so that it fits beautifully on my card. Love this little cutter. Doesn't take up a whole bunch of space on my workstation, but it's always nice and close at hand. So again, a couple of more of the little foam squares on the back and popping it up in the right-hand corner of my card. Okay, you can tell I haven't done a video for a couple of months. Rookie mistake. I forgot to turn the video back on when I finished doing my embellishing. So I'm going to explain it to you. I used a white gel pen and added some highlights. And I really like the Sakura white jelly pen. This is Jelly Roll number 10. And then I added some Stay Gold sequins, and I used my Barely Art glue to do that. So there you go. There's my finished card. All of the products that I used today are listed down below on this video. There's also a link over to my blog where you can get a detailed description of everything I used, as well as a PDF download for the cutting instructions, etc. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please consider giving me a thumbs up and sharing it with your friends. And until next time, happy stamping!